How's that? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So welcome to the Black Voter Base virtual town hall. We have, utilizing technology to its greatest capacity to keep our community connected. And this is a very special moment that we wanted to share with the public, because the public needs to know that we have been very busy and working towards building effective means for communities to engage with their elected politicians, and to be able to successfully meet the demands and the needs of the people. And it's very important for us to set a model for ourselves and for our neighboring communities to be able to effectively help elected officials lead. Without our asks, our demands, and our needs placed on paper, with a very strong accountability measures put in place, they're subject to not get done. We all multitask, and we all know in our own lives as we multitask, many things don't get accomplished sometimes. And if there's one thing that we know our elected officials are multitaskers. They have to address the needs and the concerns, the wants of people all over their constituency. And we all know as multitaskers, the better organized you are, the better chance you have in making sure all of the things on your list get met. And so what our intentions are is to continue building upon this model on helping the great multitaskers of our community, the elected officials, effectively work alongside of us in real time to address real issues. I would like to welcome our guest of honor, the mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown, to the town hall. We're truly honored, sir.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to be with you and looking forward to this town hall this morning.
Amen. And I love everyone's casual. I had a question. I had the big decision to make when I seen Peter this morning, and I realized that he's going t-shirt today.
Yep.
I said, okay, we t-shirting, and then I can kind of calm it down a little bit. So I'm glad that I followed my gut, my instinct, and said, you know what, let it be an easy Sunday morning. And I just got the sweater on. So thank you, Mayor, for showing up appropriately dressed for this meeting, so that we all could just be comfortable, and really set a great tone and a great vibe for the next few minutes for this town hall. And I say minutes because it's not going to be hours, that's for sure. So I just want to welcome all the calls. I do see some things happening in the chat, so let me just take one moment to see, to ensure mute everyone but the speaker. All right, thank you so much for everyone's feedback. All right, so Brother Peter, he does have our agenda in place, so I'd just like to defer to him so he can walk us through our agenda so we don't skip any steps.
Yes, so I just want to thank, first of all, again, everyone for showing up and being part of what truly is a historic agreement and understanding that we have with Patrick Brown when he was running for mayor. We're really appreciative of all the things that were put in place, but contextually, I think if we just quickly go through what it was, then we'll get a reference. And the Black Voter Base Agreement came about.
Peter, my friend, we're going to do the opening, we're going to do the acknowledgement.
Yeah, well, the introduction, the landmark recognition, you go first.
But you set the tone, Brother Peter, that this is in fact an historical. You said it. I couldn't have said it any better, sir. This is an historical agreement, something that has inspired communities to to learn more about these measures. And we're excited about being able to empower Bramptonians to be able to control their destiny and the narrative of their city. We wanted to let you all know that this meeting, in fact, will be two parts. One part is for the public, and the other part will just be time that Patrick Brown, his team, and the Black voter base will address some of our issues moving forward. So while you're here, we want you to know that you have an opportunity. If you have any questions, hopefully the mayor will be accessible and available to be able to meet those questions before we actually go into phase 2 of our meeting. So, Brother Peter, I think you have the
yeah. I think we have to recognize and acknowledge that indigenous people have inhabited the Brampton area for thousands of years, and that the city is situated on the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe. Those are the native people who inhabited the land. The city was named after a town of Brampton in Cumberland, England. Brampton was incorporated in 1853. We have a long history. And as a town in 1873, and it became a city in 1974. We acknowledge all the people who went before and the indigenous people who actually inhabited the land.
And
we are very happy that we are here today carrying forward the mission of accomplishment based on the agreement that we had with Patrick Brown, which was based on further the United Nations Assembly Declaration of 2013, December 23rd.
And the land all around the world, we also acknowledge has suffered trauma of having its natives stripped from her hands. Indigenous people were displaced, discarded, and killed from the lands of Africa, the Caribbean islands, South America, and right here in North America. People of love, faith, and culture face the most extreme hate, prejudice, and injustice the world has ever seen. Because of the global impact on the land and the people, the UN has declared from now until December 31st of 2024 as the International Decade of People of African Descent. The main objective of this decade is to promote respect, protection, and fulfillment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms of people of African descent, to strengthen nationally, regionally, and international action and cooperation in relation to the full enjoyment of economic, social, cultural, civic, and political rights by people of African descent, and that their full and equal participation in all aspects of society. So to all of our ancestors whom we honor in deed, action, and love, we give thanks and pay tribute. We remember the past in order not to repeat the past, and we commit ourselves to leaving a legacy of righteousness, respect, and responsibility. Ashe.
Ashe.
Is there anything that anyone would like to add to that? Ashe. Peter, what do we have next?
You want me to share a few words at the beginning?
Yes, of course. Oh yeah, that's I think that's right next on the list. So you're right, you're right in lockstep with our plan. Thank you.
Okay, well, I just want to thank the Black voter base, Dwight and Peter in particular, for convening this meeting. We've been working at this for over 3 years, and it's always good to be to look at in introspective manner at hindsight of where we made progress, where we have ongoing work. But I do want to, highlight the accomplishment of this level of engagement. I don't think the Afro-Caribbean community has been as engaged elsewhere in the country as we've seen in Brampton, directly focused on public policy change. And it's been a beautiful example of democracy working. We challenged I think the conventional thinking in Brampton. I think prior to my election, there wasn't a high level of focus or time or dialogue happening with the Black community in Brampton, despite the fact that the diaspora was one of the largest in the country. We have a huge Caribbean diaspora, a huge African community. And what we've done over the last 3 years is really work in tandem with the community. And I want to give credit to Frances Bradshaw, who is on this call, because she's really spearheaded it from the mayor's office perspective. The bureaucracy always likes to move a little bit slower than our hearts and minds like to, but we've been pushing it. And there was commitments we made, and Frances will go through the list. She's got a document that she wants to review with all of you. But when I look on a high level of some of our accomplishments, there wasn't a single member of the community in the mayor's office before. And we have two stalwarts in the mayor's office right now, in Frances and Candace, that are doing great work for the city. We made a pledge that we were going to create an Emancipation Park. That's done. Now we have events at Emancipation Park. We have the first agreement with Black North Canada to build affordable housing, the first in Canada dedicated to the community, that was signed at the Region of Peel with my friend Wes Hall. We created an anti-Black racism unit at our City Hall, the first in Canada. We had a reverse tender trade show. And this is before COVID. We can't do as many of these events in the pandemic. We had a reverse tender trade show that Frances really promoted in the community, where instead of it being a secret what government contracts were available, we had every department have to show what they would be bidding, and the community could come and learn of the type of government work that's available. So part of the challenge is knowing how to contribute. So it's been an exciting process. We have had a monthly Mayor's Black Advisory Committee that has really helped guide us on issues. And as much as we had the initial agreement, I would say that the issues come up. And what's been really helpful is to be in constant communication with the community, because issues come up and you think of new ideas or there's new challenges. We've had a number of challenges in the policing world that we thought created systemic racism, where we've really had to take on a national advocacy level. It was Mayor Crombie and myself that wrote an op-ed in the national papers around SIU reform, around more transparency in policing. We wrote a letter on behalf of the advisory committee wanting representation on the police services board. And those are issues that percolated during this term in council. And there was other new ideas that came up. Like, we thought of the fact that we have this large economic development department, but they were only looking at the US and Europe. How short-sighted. So we actually passed a motion to create an economic development unit within our economic development department focused on the Caribbean and Africa. I went to Nigeria before COVID. I went to Lagos and was blown away. I was there with Councillor Williams and Frances, blown away by the potential economic opportunity. The tech sector, Nollywood, booming. Right now we have Erica Jackman in our economic development department, a full-time staff member focused on Africa and the Caribbean. And she's identifying Caribbean companies that are interested in accessing the Canadian market. We're actively engaging in Caribbean economic development at a time that you don't see many cities doing that. So, I've really, really enjoyed working on this file. And I've met so many people in the community that are inspiring. One aspect of the agreement was that we were going to have Making Black History Awards. Every year, we recognize some of these inspiring individuals, and we actually do a street name every year in honor of people that have been helped us forge history in Brampton. So I just want to say I've really enjoyed working with your group. I look forward to continuing to work with your group. And
You don't know the mayor of Brampton?
For a democracy is engagement. The greatest weakness of a democracy is apathy. So the fact that you're showing up, adding your voice, adding your input, is powerful. And I hope what we're doing in Brampton is going to be an example for others around the country. I noticed that the affordable housing project we're doing with Black North got attention nationally. I know our Emancipation Park got attention nationally. Other economic development departments are calling Brampton, asking about the fact we've got this new focus on the Caribbean and Africa. That's getting attention. I actually think what we're doing together is going to be an example for other communities in the country, other cities in the country to follow. So I hope you're involved in something special. But I thought it would be appropriate right now to have Francis run through the agreement so we can talk about areas that we feel that we've accomplished and areas that there's still ongoing work. Now, Francis went to Calgary. Her mother was in a car accident, but thankfully she's okay. And so, Francis, did you want to go through the agreement with everyone, and then we can have an open discussion on areas that we should still put additional emphasis? Would that make sense? It's a little earlier. It's 2 hours earlier in Calgary, so we got to make sure Francis has had her coffee.
Peter and DeWitt, does that work for you?
Thumbs up.
Okay, perfect. So
Now,
we had a chance to,
there's no way that we can show the screen of the document. Is there? Like, are we able to share a screen? I know you worked on a document that outlines each item.
I don't have it up on my computer.
Okay, well then why don't we just verbally go through it? Because Francis has actually put a lot of work into analyzing where we've have mission accomplished and where we still have work to do. And so given that Francis has put that effort in, why don't we go through that, and then we have a discussion on what we want to celebrate for achieving and what we want to put additional time into.
Perfect.
And I would say, I just want to add one point. Sometimes you come up with obstacles, like the provincial government 3 years ago canceled inclusionary zoning. Before, you can mandate to developers a segment of a development that had to be dedicated to affordable housing. So we weren't able to use a tool that was available to us before. They took it away from municipalities, but we managed through some financial incentives to work with the Region Appeal to do a partnership with Black North. But like, that was difficult because that tool had been taken away from the cities. But where there's a will, there's a way, and we found a way. There's always moving balls, right?
If I could make a point, Mayor,
Yeah.
This is why the Black voter base reach goes beyond municipal offices and responsibilities, so that we can have similar agreements with colleagues at other levels of government. So when the power shifts into the hands of, provincial or federal, we have working agreements and arrangements and relationships in those other areas of government to be able to keep that pressure on, because we have to have reach across all three levels of government in order to get these bold things accomplished. And I just want to make that point that we are broader than just relationships in the municipal level. Francis. And if I could just ask everyone to mute their phone if they're not speaking, please.
So the agreement with the Black voter base, I'm not sure if you're able to pull it up, do it, and so that people are able to see the commitments. Our first one was that we wanted the mayor's office to reflect the community. So just ensuring the mayor's office staff reflects the cultural mosaic of the community. In the past, there had been no Black staff in mayor's offices in Brampton. And so with myself and Candace Carter as the office manager, that was our start. But we've also brought forward more staff in different departments, and we're encouraging through the HR department to continue to work on diversifying the city of Brampton and making sure that there's barrier-free access to employment. We have Gwen Chapman, who's in the office of the CAO and managing the anti-Black racism unit, Mikkel Marr, office of the CAO, and Monique Napier. So we see that that's going to identify anti-Black racism training for staff and identify opportunities for staff to develop and grow at the city of Brampton. So we've actually started an anti-Black racism unit in Brampton. And we've also had a staff community organization group that gives staff the opportunity to discuss issues and concerns and growth and development for themselves. We have the city reviewing our hiring practices, and we're also ensuring that there's an equity and anti-Black racism lens applies to these strategies. And so we've just had our anti-Black racism unit review different steps. So we have our HR director reviewing hiring policies and practices in partnership with the anti-Black racism unit. And we also hosted a Black Mayor's Advisory meeting with the HR unit. And following this, a motion to council is being brought forward to update HR practices to include race and demographic-based data to assess staffing members for racialized communities and to work to reflect the demographics of the community better. Article 4 we've completed. We have a council of elders that are included in the Mayor's Black Advisory. This includes groups like Elder Help Peel, United Achievers Seniors Club, and Roots Community Services. We are working to regularly engage community members to apply and participate on committees. We've also begun to direct communities to delegate to council on community and issues. So this is very important, having more engagement from community members directly at council on a variety of topics. We're looking to get more feedback from the community, from organizations such as Black Voter Base on resident polls, so that we can reflect the increase and interest of residents. Article 7 was also completed. We encourage the connection between the BIA and the Black Chamber of Commerce and look forward to their work. In addition, the African Canadian Business Network has been involved along with Victoria from the Women's Co-working Space. We are creating Black Business COVID Teletown Hall, which was to access opportunities and challenges for Black business owners in the face of COVID-19, and to identify opportunities for growth and additional support with the online business directory and communication and events. So that online business directory should be launching soon. Now we have a Mayor's Youth Council, which is co-founded by a Black community member. And that has been very, very instrumental in assessing what youth are saying and needing in the community. Article 10, we launched October 29th with a fireside chat with Mayor Brown and Councillor Williams. And Article 11, reviewing the grant opportunities through the new unit as part of the City of Brampton Anti-Racism Review. So making sure that grants are accessible to community members is very important. We're very, very happy that Article 12 was completed with the Emancipation Park. I know that's something that was really important to Peter and the community. So Article 13 was ongoing. We're following the Nigerian and African development meetings and tour. A review of local and international opportunities is taking place. That's, as the mayor mentioned, with Erica Henry Jackman. And she is our new African and Caribbean FDI staff member and has been added to pursue broader FDI opportunities which reflect the African and Caribbean diaspora. Article 14 is pending. Chief Nish and deputies attended a two-part teletown hall discussion on policing and the Black community experiences in Brampton. Public Safety Committee has 3 Black women, including the chair, and will continue to engage and welcome residents. Now, Article 15 is going to be announced at the next Black History Month for 2022, so please keep it updated on that. And that kind of rounds out some of our commitments. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Peter, would you like to say anything?
Well, you know, thank you very much, Francis. I think we have really indicated from the beginning what a truly historical agreement this thing was. And we thank Mayor Brown and his staff, Patrick. We thank you, sir, and we thank Francis, because she has been the backbone of a lot of these initiatives at the administrative level. I just want to have a quick note. I met Francis years ago at a meeting and was so impressed with her that I called her out after the meeting and spoke with her and asked her what she was doing. And I don't know whether she was new back to Toronto at the time, but it was at the Toronto Plaza Hotel. And everything has really just blossomed over this period. As you are aware, the directorate that have been established have been ongoing. I have had conversations with Gwen and others. As we remain focused on some things, I guess because of the pandemic, a lot of things have happened. And I just want to make a note about that, that despite the horror of having to deal with the pandemic, the whole country has had to deal, the whole world is now dealing with it. That one thing it did do was it introduced Zoom as a possible way of meeting. And now we can meet all over the world on any topic with anybody just by either using one of the many platforms, Zoom being one that we're using today. So I really want to take this opportunity again. The council has a big job in front of it. It has a big job in front of it because on top of the pandemic, we're dealing with systemic racism issues, which have always been here and they've been here for decades. So I would like to say that what I would like to see definitely for the next period is looking forward now. What is the development plans for Emancipation Park? And with an election coming up very soon, next year, how are we going to engage for the next step of the Black voter base, which will be looking at the re-election of Patrick Brown so that the work can continue. No administration has been able to accomplish anywhere in the world everything it wants to do in 4 years. No administration. I don't care what country, what system, 4 years is a relative historic short period of time. So we are really looking forward to that. And I know we're going to have some more discussion.
I'd
like to add, once again, we have some people who need to mute their phones. I'd like to also add my appreciation and thanks to Sister Francis. So glad to hear about your mother's recovery. She is definitely a star and very special member of Patrick Brown, elect Patrick Brown movement that we all had the honor of participating in. And the history of and the origin and the genesis story of the Black voter base has many routes, has many ways of identifying itself, origin points. But I will say this for a fact, that there was a need for an agenda to be put forth, a checklist to be put forth. And listen, to walk into a room as Peter and I did with the candidate Patrick Brown at the time, and to say we want 20% of your staff to look like us, to say we want 20% of housing units to be allocated for us. That wasn't easy. Okay, it's not easy. And that's the reason why it hasn't been done until now. All right, because it had to take, a fearless boldness to say, you know what, this is what we deserve. And because we are operating within the time frame of the International Decade of People of African Descent, and we are in the fourth quarter of that, it was vital that there are drastic changes to address racism and biases and prejudice that has made it very difficult for us to move forward as a Black diaspora. And by putting forth these agenda items and having the candidate to agree to them, and for him to win, that put us in a very unique position. And so there were a lot of learning curves and growing pains as we went through this process. And as we were able to stay focused on the prize, stay focused on the purpose of our pursuit, which was to achieve equality and freedom and dignity for our people. And because everyone was on the same page and bought into the same dream and the same vision, we were able to get this far. And so to hear us go down the list of the things that we have done is very exciting. But now we are entering, as Peter mentioned, a new phase of uncharted territory, because never before have we had a candidate to elect who has a track record that we have walked along with him step by step to get done, right? Never before have we been able to look back on the record of achievements and to be able to say that this is an arrangement that works for us, and it makes all the sense in the world for the Black constituents of Brampton to ensure that Patrick Brown continues to be their mayor. And, you know, there were some interesting times during the campaign where, you know, some people in the community saw some activities and actions of Patrick Brown to be anti-racist and anti-Black racist, things like that. And we were able to intervene. We were able to intervene and say, listen, you know what? We work with the man. We know the spirit in the heart of the man.
Right.
We know the spirit in the heart of his administration. And he is committed to ensuring that we are able to achieve these things. Now, I will say this much. As every area that Sister Francis addressed has been completed, has now created space for a new agenda item. And this is where the community comes on board. We have proven how successful it is to lay down a list of agenda items and to be able to work with that administration to achieve them. So now it is time for us, as we look forward to the future, to be able to address the new areas of concerns of our people. And that is an opportunity and responsibility of those on the call. We're going to be conducting many meetings as we build up for the re-election campaign for Patrick Brown, to make sure that the voices of the people are heard, the needs and concerns are addressed, and that we are able to continue building on this incredible relationship that we have with the Patrick Brown administration. So that I want everyone on the call, and this is why we did the Eventbrite, so that we can get an idea on who's on this call, so that we can follow up with you. Many people who are on this call did not register through the Eventbrite. Therefore, we do not have your information. So if you would like to send me, and I'm listed here as Black Voter Base, your information, at least an email, we can add you to a database. And we can keep you posted. Oh, that's the baby. Is that mine? That's not my babies. I see.
There's one thing I wanted to add too.
Please.
Is sometimes you get curveballs, and one curveball we found was the COVID-19 pandemic. But one success I want to highlight for the community is we heard stories in the US about inequitable access to healthcare and vaccines and testing that created a disproportionate burden on the Afro-Caribbean community in the US in some major cities compared to the general population. And so we brought this up early on. I know Francis and myself had a call with Dr. Lowe, and Gwen's been working on this as well. And we've been able to get public health throughout the pandemic to partner with Roots Community Services, where we had community-focused vaccine clinics, testing clinics. And I always ask this question on my update calls to Dr. Lowe, how the positivity rate and vaccination rate is in the African Caribbean community compared to the overall population. And almost for the entirety of the pandemic, we have been consistent with the percentages for the general population. And that's not happening everywhere. And so we've been really successful. I know it's sometimes a controversial topic to discuss COVID and vaccinations and testing, but we really made sure, and thanks to Roots Community Services, we made sure that that there was an equitable access to healthcare resources for the community. And I think that should be one of our things we can be proud of coming out of this pandemic, is that on a health access level, there was no unequitable access to healthcare. And the fact that we mirror the percentages for the general population shows that these collaborations with groups like Roots on vaccination testing have paid dividends. And I just thought I should reference that.
You should. You should. And you definitely deserve recognition for addressing that, because, you know, that wasn't just an issue in the US. That was an issue across Canada. and getting vaccines. And I know there was incredible efforts in the Jane and Finch communities and many others, to ensure that people were taken care of. It was a very disturbing and stressful time, and the hearts of the people really was shown, and we really found out what we're made of as we went to each other's aids during that very difficult time. So we would like to open the floor if anyone has any questions about the Black Voter Base Agreement, the Black Voter Base organization, or any of the things that Francis and Mayor Patrick Brown has shared.
Yes. May I?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Lee. Continue to do the great things that you're doing. I want to share something. I sat together with Mayor Patrick Brown at the conference that we had for African Canadians all over Canada at the reference library. I sat next to him, shoulder to shoulder, in the front row. And we had a little chit chat, and I came off very impressed by his heart. And so I know this is a man who means well, and he needs support to do the good work that he has in his mind. And Brother Peter, I'm the guy you
Yes,
called
sir.
me one night. You called me one night, probably around 11 or something, and I was about my business. And you told me what you wanted to do for the community. And I left what I had to do. I arrived around 11 o'clock. We met in this hotel. It was called the Plaza Hotel at that time. I don't know what's the name now because I think they have some members. And we had this conversation. And I know you're serious and passionate about what you're doing. And Brother Lou, Brother Do It, I don't have to say anything about you, because we've been doing this thing for so long. Like, we've been soldiers on the front line for so long. So I'm very, very happy to hear what I'm hearing. I just want to add one more thing to it. We need to put out something about people with disabilities. We have a lot of people who are functionally, in a sense, like they function with disabilities. And we have people who cannot function without help. We need to think of all of them as the same, people with disabilities. So I want to see something happening within your organization to cover that situation. The other thing I want, you talk about the engagement with the Caribbean and Africa and other parts of this diaspora. I think that's really good, but we need to focus on something that's very, 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 very urgent right now. Now, for years, and I know this is municipal, but we have our voices and we should raise our voices wherever we can. Now, for years, Canada has been flying planes over Haiti year after year to go to take place, to go to help people in places where help is needed, of course, but faraway places, right? And I commend Canada for doing those things. But why not Haiti? Why are you flying over Haiti every year and not doing anything for Haiti? And you're going to all of the places in the world. You're bringing people to Canada, you're feeding them, and stuff, which is what we need to do because Canada has the space. So right now we have a crisis that we are trying to work on. The crisis is that their Haitians were deported from America and they're going through Colombia, the jungles of Colombia, one of the most dangerous places. You have kids there, infants, as a matter of fact. You have family and you have old people, sick people going through that thing. And I think right now we need to rally and help those people. I am having an action on Tuesday and I'm going to send you the details. We need to take action to call on the Canadian government to take care of those people as we have been doing correctly all the time.
Brother Cecil, I will say this much. First of all, I echo the respect that I have for you. I mean, we have worked on many boards and many spaces, and your passion is second to none for our people, especially our youth. made a critical contribution regarding, those with, you mentioned who have disabilities. And that is a very important measure that moving forward, we want to make sure that things are accessible and that all the needs of our constituents are addressed. That conversation that you mentioned something about dealing with, Haiti, and we will have more town halls coming. We have a date in November with the leader of the Green Party, who will be our next guest in the Black voter-based town hall meeting. So I hope that you continue to participate in these virtual engagements because we will make sure that you will have an audience to get those questions delivered to, and we will get those answers for you, my friend. Thank you.
And Peter, if I could just add to that, that is a federal issue. But if you have any troubles getting a government member to attend a Zoom meeting with you, I'm happy to help facilitate that. They're about to have a cabinet shuffle on October 26th, so we'll know who's going to be taking on the positions in immigration and international aid very soon. And I would note, I've heard about this from my own city. Jean, who runs one of the most popular takeout barbecue spots in the city, RD's, he was telling me he's got loved ones in Haiti, and he said there's a real need for Canadian assistance right now, where we could help resettle some people facing significant adversity. Haiti's had the double whammy of natural disasters and COVID at the same time. And so I do think this is an issue that deserves federal attention. You don't see the same urgency to how we can help in Haiti that we're seeing in other areas facing adversity. So I think it's a great idea. And if we can help, we could write whoever the new international aid or immigration ministries are and say, please meet with this group. So if we can help facilitate that, we're happy to do so.
Yeah.
I would just like to
Yeah.
add, I'd just like to add one particular issue that Peel, the region of Peel has to deal with, and it's a question of education. Now, I know when DeWitt and when we had meetings with you, Mr. Mayor, at the time, the issue of education came up. And you were attending a very big demonstration that happened, that we walked down, I drove behind, I was the marshal at the back, to Peel Board. I want us to think that in addition to the issue of Haiti, which I completely endorse what Cecil has said, Cecil Peters, the question of education is a sore and vexed point, and I know Peel Board has to be spoken to. I heard you speak at the demonstration, Patrick, Mr. Mayor, and I am glad you were there, because I think one of the things we have to look at in the next period also, in addition to re-election of the mayor, is secondly the issue of how systemic racism and curriculum change and transformation in the education system. I am wedded to this matter for two reasons. One, I went to a very great school and I went to a greater university. Our kids are being dumped, and if you look in Brampton at the correctional center now, that is the correctional center in Brampton, you will see that the McVitie Center, if you will see that there is a large overrepresentation of people of color there. And part of the reason, I think, is connected to the education process. We need to get them from early. And I have been having discussions with the trade groups, the Carpenters Union and other unions, to see if we can get them involved as well. Because if you have a trade and a skill to sell, you have a job. If you can get a job, you can stay out of jail and or other nefarious activities. And for that, I thank you. And I would like to ask that we also focus on the issue of education and transformation in the education system.
I'd just like to read a few things from the chat. We have a contribution from Sister Simone, and she mentions, thank you, Brother Peter, for mentioning the necessity of the ongoing work that must be done to make this Emancipation Park functional. for the very people for which it is renamed. We need shelters, bathroom, change rooms, and other amenities. And so that is the next phase that we are in, right? So, everything is about process. And, and I think you have to have a plan, and you have to have patience and pressure. And you know what? This is why we have Peter Lopez, the pressure cooker. And so, pressure, patience, and the plan. And that's exactly the ingredients that we have gone about to get to this point. I don't think you're going to be able to find a community in the world that is able to have a town hall with their city mayor, with an agenda that was created by the people, for the people, that has been addressed in real time, in a timely fashion, all right? And so what we were able to achieve with many of the people who are on this call right now is only because we are willing to sacrifice ourselves and be selfless. We are not in this thing for ego. We are not in this thing for legacy. We are in this thing for justice. We are in to make sure that the International Decade of People of African Descent, that there's a fingerprint. There's a fingerprint, and there is a set in stone that we were here. We are here, and we have contributed. And so with the painstaking work that has gone to, submit ideas, and just trust the process and be patient with pressure. And as Francis was able to run down the list, some of those things that she mentioned were things done independent of our work, independent of our contribution, right? But the fact that we put it down, it put it on their radar. And look, we gave them full freedom to make it happen however it happens, as our ancestor Malcolm X says, by any means necessary. And so we are grateful that they have taken their own approach to making sure that these agenda items were met, and that we look forward to being able to reach out to all of these partners who've participated in helping them meet those agenda items, so that we can have greater discussion on what's next. The reason why this Zoom meeting took place today is because it marks the 1-year countdown to election day for our very own Mayor Patrick Brown. And never before has there been evidence, proof, and a track record of an administration's willingness to listen, to work along with, and to execute the plans of our people. And so this should be a very enthusiastic election. We look forward to working with his re-election team in lockstep, and we are going to be able to confidently go to our people and say, don't vote for him because he's a nice guy. Don't vote for him because he has a lovely family. Don't vote for him because he's a great hockey player. Okay. Vote for him because he is a contributor to the Black voter base agreement, and he is going to help manifest our greatest visions.
Sure.
So we're very, very excited. And you know what? We are setting the tone for, like I said, our communities across the world to be able to empower themselves and to create a strategy to be able to bring effective change. Because listen, for far too long, we've blamed politicians, and many times for good reason, for the lack of attention and the lack of support to build our diasporas. But if we lack these kinds of agreements and this kind of infrastructure, then we are also to blame. And this is why at the end of our acknowledgement, we said we want to leave a legacy, okay, of responsibility. And we need to look at ourselves and take responsibilities for ourselves as well. And we have proven today in this moment of celebration that, you know what, when good people, selfless people working together with a plan, great things can happen. Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to share?
Well,
Yeah.
Peter, the mayor has the floor. The mayor has the floor.
Peter, I just want to say I'm going to have to leave because we have our
Can I
next
speak before the mayor?
at 11. But I've got Francis on the call to take
Mayor.
notes. But you know, I hope we can have another Zoom like this where we can talk about what the next steps are, what the next agenda items are, and put a little bit of effort and research into sort of planning them out. And so if the goal is going to be to address other issues, what are the tangible achievements we want to see in the next 4 years? And so would love for you to maybe do that research with the community and determine what are the municipal asks that we can work on together. I've shared my direct email and Francis's direct email in this chat box, but I do apologize. You guys have me booked from 10:15 to 11. I just got a note from our next Zoom asking me where I am.
So, Mr. Mayor, there's two things. And I'm just going to beg you for 30 seconds more. Someone did have a question. Who was that? Who was that?
So I just want to thank the mayor, and I want us to stop calling mayor, call him brother. He's our brother.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I opened the floor. I'm glad I opened the floor for that statement. So, Mayor Brown, we are actively working on these kind of arrangements with administrations and governments, across the world. Specifically right here in Buffalo with actual Mayor Byron Brown. And I just wanted to ask you, Mr. Mayor Brother Brown, before you go, do you have any words, for him specifically and anyone else who will be presented with a Black voter base agreement?
I would just add that it's a beautiful opportunity to enriching your democracy. An agreement like this can help show the community that democracy works, that apathy is not the route to public policy change, that showing commitments towards public policy issues can actually increase participation in the community. And so for me, it's a no-brainer. I would encourage any other mayor to give it their sincere consideration.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you, and
thank you, sir,
supporting you in your re-election campaign. Thank you. That is it. That everyone put your hands together really quickly for Brother Mayor Patrick Brown. That was big. That was big. We told you this was a historical moment. Peter and myself have been working behind the scenes. A lot of work has gone into this moment. But you know what? We are not satisfied, right? We are not content. We are not never complacent. We are focused on the next stage, and for every area of achievement that Sister Francis read, is now created a void in the space for another agenda item. And obviously this list could have been, up to 50, 60 agenda items. But it's very important that our plan is to address some of the initial needs where the most bleeding is happening, in connection with what's feasible, right? We didn't want to present things that were just outlandish, things that can't happen. But as a people, we have to understand that the clock is ticking, and we need to operate with some hustle, right? The clock is ticking. We mentioned the international Connection of people of African descent. And you know what? That gives us permission to step boldly, like never before, to achieve the things we need. We know reparations are needed. We know the conversation must be held. And these kinds of agreements allow us to begin piecing together what that reparation plan will look like, right? We see the achievements that the indigenous community has been able to secure through engagement. And you know what? We are definitely following suit because we are deserving. We are deserving people, and it is our time. So I'd like to just open the floor to anyone. I want to thank Francis for continuing to take any comments or questions from the people. I also like to acknowledge, some of the people on the call. I do see a representative from the Congress of Black Women, and I extend them an opportunity to speak. I also see that we had Gwendolyn on the call as well. Gwyneth Chapman, Gwyneth Chapman is on the call. And as Francis mentioned earlier, she is heading that anti-Black racism effort in Brampton City Hall. So I would like to open the floor to her as well, if anyone would like to contribute. Okay. That's fair enough.
Since no one
I would
is
just like to say something. I'd just like to say something. We're over an hour now, and I'm not the timekeeper, but I just want to say this. We want to end in a spirit of cooperation, collaboration, and coordination. The 3 C's. Cooperation, we have. Collaboration, we have. Now let's do some coordination for the next 4 years, because it's a long road ahead, and I am really very excited to once again get engaged for the next stage. Let's get it on. And thank you all for being here. I am wary of the time. It is now past 11. If anybody doesn't have anything further to add, if you do, please speak now.
We have a hand up. We do have a hand up. Sister Gwyneth has put her hand up, and the floor is yours.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so very much. You guys are doing amazing work. Just want to be mindful of time. It's so important to have people like yourselves pushing and, you know, putting our needs out there as a community. I would just like to extend an opportunity for me to connect with all of you on the call. I've placed my email address in the chat. Please reach out to me. If we don't know each other, I would love to introduce you to the work that we are working on at the city. And again, just want to thank all of you for your tireless work. Appreciate your leadership. Thank you, Francis, and of course, our brother Brown, who is it, Peter or no?
Cecil Peters.
Cecil mentioned Brother Brown. But the work is really important, and you know, this is a great time for us to pull together. And like I said, the theme for our community now is to unite and build, because as you know, in the past, dividing us was the key thing that really broke down communication and us working together. So we know better. We are coming together. We are uniting, and we're going to continue building for ourselves and our children. So thank you so much again for your tireless efforts, and God bless you all. Thanks, Francis, and I'll talk to you and catch up with you soon. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Sister Gwyneth, for that. You know, it's wild how, you know, it's wild how our worlds intersect. And you know what? It's all for purpose. It's all for purpose and to prepare us for a moment such as this. I do want to let everyone know that we are going to begin wrapping up this meeting. And I just wanted to ask if there were any pastors or any clergy or anyone on the call that can close us in prayer. I just wanted to give that respect over to if we had anyone.
Yeah, I am.
Yes, and who is that?
Cecil Peter.
Okay, Brother Peter. Well, you know what? We are Pan-Africanists, and we are you know, people of faith, and we have orders of respect, and you know, we acknowledge you.
You still have one word. What is going on?
I'm sorry. What's one word?
Zachariah.
I'm gonna mute everybody, eh? Okay, great. All right, well, that is why I extended it to you, Brother Cecil. So if no one else has any questions, we would just like to close unified in prayer. Brother Cecil?
Yeah, so I just want to thank the Most High, who has guided and protected our ancestors to carry on us to this day, and ask for the strength for us to carry on to do what we have to do for the good of everyone, every human being. That's my prayer.
Ashe, may they cover our leaders, Patrick Brown's family, and all of the people here on the call. We thank you all for your participation. Please post your email if you would like to get information on the Black voter base as we prepare for the next plan of equity and inclusion. There are still a lot of areas of work that needs to be done. Emancipation Park, there's a grand vision for it. And we want everyone to contribute. We want to cross the finish line together. And this is why we wanted to open these meetings that are normally consist of, you know, the Black voter base and the Brown administration. We wanted to invite you all in to be part of this so that we can all cross the finish line together. So please post your information so that we can follow up with you. And we look forward to continuing bringing change to our communities together. Thank you.